Welcome, Drink with James, episode 172. I'm a little out of sorts because, the team here, they work me very hard, and they now have me filming weeks in advance. So you guys are going to see this November 4th, but it is October 23rd right now, which is a bit of a bummer because usually I try and at least dress up in some sort of Halloween costume for Drink with James and do it in costume. Last year I didn't really have a costume. I just parted my hair down the middle like an asshole and said I was F. Scott Fitzgerald. And the year before I just wore my cowboy hat and shaved a mustache and said I was Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. But I feel like as the boss, if the employees want to dress up, I kind of have to do something. So I think that everyone is going hard this year in the office. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but maybe we'll cut in a little something. And if I put some outfit on, I will have Brian film something and we'll throw it in there. I was at dinner the other day with a few friends in one of my favorite places in New York City, which is the Waverly Inn. If you haven't been, it's fantastic. This is not really a review of the food. I don't go to restaurants for the food. I could give a shit what the food tastes like. I go solely for how the place makes me feel. If it feels special, if it feels chic and fun. And the Waverly Inn is incredible. If you do go there, make sure that when you make a reservation, you tell them to seat you in the front. I hate the garden, which is kind of in the back. So when you make your reservation, ask for a seat up front. But I'm at the Waverly Inn with some friends, geeking out about marketing. And somebody says that, for them, marketing is making someone feel what you feel about a product. So if you really love something, then transferring that emotion to somebody else, that is marketing. And the really great ads, the ones that touch, the really great ads, the ones that go after you emotionally, not after you logically, they do that, right? They create a connection with you and they transfer that energy. In sales, we talk about this a lot of we say it's a transfer of energy, right? That when we go in for a sales meeting, we go in excited, we go in high energy, and we try and make that meeting fun. And we try and, even if the person we're talking to is a bit of a downer, if they're really quiet, if they seem tired, we try and transfer our energy to them. And that's a big part of the sale because now they walked into a meeting feeling kind of down and a little worn out. And they walked out laughing and with a little bit of energy and feeling excited. And if we can do that, and we can make someone feel different, that kind of transfers back to our brand. It's a lot easier to close that sale. So when you're thinking about your posts, this is, think about how you're going to transfer the way you feel about that thing to your audience. If you love that product and you really feel like it has helped your skin, that you have to be able to get your audience to feel the same way that you feel about the product. And when you've done that, you've already sold it, and your job is done. I thought that was a good way to think about it. In general, you should be thinking more about advertising and trying to read as much as you can. Seth Godin, Gladwell, those books are good. They have their flaws, certainly. I used to talk a lot about the Ogilvy book on advertising, which I thought was awesome. It was written back in the 70s or 80s, I think. But it's just a textbook on how to change people's minds. And as influencers, you're creating ads. You need to educate yourself and understand the principles of what drives efficacy in advertising. So that is my introductory plea to you, but let's get on to questions. Question number one. This is one we have talked about many times, and there are many emotions about it. Are unboxings here to stay, or should brands evolve their creative mailers? Now, If you've been watching the show for a while, you know I'm not a big fan of unboxings. We can put up a couple other links where I talk about it. Just want to mention a few things. One, there's different kinds of unboxings. I actually love when an influencer does an unboxing for a luxury product that they purchased. I think that's really fun. I was talking to Helena from Brooklyn Blonde about this. I think if you have saved up and you are really excited about a product and you are finally able to afford it and you put that box down and you show yourself opening it, like, buying luxury products is an act of delusion. Nobody needs a pair of $1,200 boots. And so you have to it has to be fun. And I think that when you see someone doing that and buying something that they really care about and taking apart the beautiful packaging, I think that feels really special, and I think that's interesting, and I think audiences enjoy that generally. When you're ripping through 50 random things that brands sent you and just being like, thanks, next, thanks, next, thanks, next, that is not interesting at all. And I think the problem with it is, and I talk to just like quote unquote normal people about this all the time. My friends who aren't in this industry, my mom, whoever. And to a lot of people, it just feels like bragging. It feels like you're rubbing their fucking nose in it. And I don't think that influencers are super aware about how fucking annoying your lives can be to people that are following you. You are living a reality that is so different than most people's that it can be exciting, and something that starts exciting can turn really annoying really, really quickly. And it's the reason I think that, like, showing every free product that you get does a huge disservice to yourself. And I think it is really, really uninteresting. I think when we talk about, does this thing educate, inspire, or entertain, I don't think it does any of those things. I think it's you saying, I need to give these brands some love, and I'm too fucking lazy to actually do anything about it and write a post about it, so I'm just gonna hold my phone and say what I got. It's lazy, it is boring, I wish it would go away, but for some reason it doesn't. And if there is just one piece of advice, any influencer I see that posts, that like goes out of town for a while, comes back and posts all the boxes stacked upside of their, $7,000 a month apartment that they have in New York City, and it's like, oh my God, look at all these boxes. That's like an immediate unfollow for me. You have to be so fucking delusional to post that and think people are going to find that entertaining. Oh my gosh, look at the thousands and thousands of dollars of free shit brands sent me while I was away on a free vacation. You just can't post that stuff. Question number 2, why is influencer marketing not going anywhere? This is a constant question. I think the Wall Street Journal just had a post about, Jesus Christ. The Wall Street Journal just had an article about how, brands are souring from influencers, whatever. This is all a bunch of bullshit. It's not true. Let's talk about fundamentals of advertising again. What are brands buying? They are purchasing attention. Brands that are incapable of getting attention on their own need to buy it, right? So you think about a brand like Glossier, right? They do a good amount of advertising, but in the early days, they didn't have to do much advertising because they were getting so much attention on their own that they didn't have to pay to inject themselves into the conversation. You think about a big drugstore brand, nothing wrong great with that brand, great products. They have to work harder to inject themselves into that conversation. To inject themselves in that conversation, they have to be where the conversation is happening, right? And so with Instagram specifically, let's just talk social, right? People are spending multiple hours a day on average on social media. Millions and millions and millions of consumers spending hours of their day on social, consuming content. If that continues, there is no fucking way brands will stop working with influencers. There's no way they will stop working on social and buying ads there. They're buying attention. You, as an influencer, say you have 50,000 people that follow you, and they all love you, and they think you're God's gift to the earth. You are a gatekeeper to speaking to them. So you have brand here. Brand wants to talk to your 50,000 people here. What do they have to do? They got to pay a fucking toll, right? You're the bridge troll sitting under the bridge, and they've got to pay the toll to get to your audience. Now, what makes influencer marketing so great is that when they pay that toll, you turn around to your audience and tell them a story about this brand, whereas in traditional advertising, they pay the toll on the bridge and they kind of pop their heads up and talk to your audience, right? Well, that audience doesn't give a shit what the brand has to say. They don't know the brand, they know you. So fundamentally changes advertising from interruptive, right? I'm enjoying a piece of content I like. As an ad, I'm interrupting that content, and you as the consumer feel like, oh, this is the toll I am paying for free content, and then the content starts again. What we have now is I'm enjoying this content. Some of it happens to be an ad. I don't even really notice it. It is just fundamentally different and fundamentally better. And anyone that argues it is not, I guarantee their jobs depend on that not being true. So when a reporter writes an article about how influencers are shit, think about, oh, let me just have a little thought here. How does that reporter get paid? How does that reporter get paid? Their employer sells advertisements to try and reach their audience, right? And so as money flows away from those sources into influencers, those traditional media outlets are feeling pretty pissed off about that. And it is in their best interest to try and make influencer marketing seem like a scam, like it doesn't work, it's not effective, because if they can devalue what you do, maybe they can get more money to flow to them. Just like fundamentally, it's not going anywhere because it is where people are spending their time. That's the synopsis. Question number 3. I keep hearing about TikTok. I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid to start one. First of all, if you haven't started a TikTok, what are you doing? You need to start one immediately. A few reasons. One, look, I signed up for TikTok like 6 months ago or something, and I've been, spending some time on it every day, just like trying to understand what's happening there and consuming content. And recently I was like, I should start posting just so I can learn, right? Like, I'm not trying to be internet famous. I've been there, done that, no fucking big deal. So I'm like, I should start posting those so I can understand, so I can bequeath that knowledge to you fine people. I realized I hadn't actually signed up for TikTok, that I just downloaded the app and you can browse TikTok without signing up for an account. So when I tried to get James Nord, which I have everywhere else, they were like, you can be James Nord 37. So there's like 37 other James Nords. I've already signed up. I don't have my username. It is massively depressing. And obviously I can never post there because posting off of James P. Nord is depressing. So for nothing else, if you haven't signed up and squatted on your username, make sure you do that immediately. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you how to make TikTok videos. I am still learning myself. Again, 4 is about to start one, so by the time this video comes out, we will have a TikTok that we're just totally experimenting with. We have no fucking idea what we're doing, but we're trying stuff. But I do want to bring in an influencer who messaged me yesterday, and she said, hey, I took your advice, which more of you should be doing. I took your advice, I started a TikTok, I was a lurker for a while, and then I decided on a strategy, had a video that hit 10 million views, 1.7 million likes. She got a bunch of followers on her TikTok, obviously, but also those followers have now jumped over to her Instagram. So I thought, well, why not bring someone on board who has gone from a total noob to getting some viral success on TikTok. So we're gonna kick to a conversation I had with Krista about what style bloggers should be doing on TikTok? Kick it. All right, so Krista, thank you for joining us. I think just for a little bit of context, you're a full-time influencer, but let's give the people just a little background on who you are.
Yeah, so I run a fashion and lifestyle blog called Covering the Bases, and I've been doing that for 7 years. Seriously for about 6, maybe 5 years, and just went full-time this past December. So I'm coming up on 1 full year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And so I don't see a lot of, fashion and lifestyle bloggers running out to start TikTok.
No.
So when did you start a TikTok? What made you do that?
Well, you did.
Yeah,
you're welcome. A round of applause. So, I watch Drink with James religiously every Monday, and you were talking about TikTok, and I was like, okay, like I'd heard about it, and I knew about it when it was Musical.ly, and when it was Musical.ly, I was like, no way, because like my little cousin was on it and just making like the most annoying slow-mo videos, and I was like, get out of here. So, when you brought it back up, I was like, okay, like James is talking about it, it's something. So I downloaded the app, and I was kind of just like lurking for a bit. I guess it was back in August, and just kind of figuring out what TikTok was or the content. And it was actually like at first like kind of weird, and then it got like strangely addicting, and I started scrolling and scrolling. And so you kind of pay attention to like trends, because there'll be multiple videos, either the same sound or the same kind of video concept. And I think I posted one of like the dogs I walk. There was like a cute video I posted to Instagram stories that I had saved. And I used the sound of like a dog talking to itself overlaid on this video, and I posted it. That was my first post. And it was like, it did like 400 views, and I was like, whoa, that's like pretty cool, because I didn't have any followers, and I maybe gained like 12 followers. And then I was like, okay. And so you just kind of over time start figuring out what you want to post. And I tested out a few, and they did not do well, and so I just deleted them because nobody was seeing them anyway. And then I posted one that once again I had saved from an Instagram story of me like learning how to curl my hair with like heat that Liv Tyler, I saw in like a Liv Tyler Vogue video. And I saved it for my stories, and I posted on TikTok, and like the next morning it had like 160,000 views. And I was like, oh,
And
cool.
did you feel like you had any idea why that did well?
I think it was because it was helpful. It was different. It wasn't curling your hair using like a curling iron. It was just blow drying it and then curling it and clipping it to your like robe while you get ready. And then once you're done, you take it out and you get these nice wavy curls. And
so kind of like a life hack.
I guess it was weird. I knew I got a lot of DMs on Instagram stories from it, and so it made sense that it did well. I just didn't know that there was like appetite for that, because I'd never really seen anything like that. And now I see a lot of hair tutorials. But yeah, it was just. So
then your next one that you messaged me about that did really, really well.
Yeah.
Was nothing like that.
No, it was insane. So I had posted a few more, trying to figure out what I can make TikTok for me and like my space, because obviously I do fashion lifestyle stuff, and the popular ones on TikTok are like dances. Yeah. And so I posted a couple fashion ones, and they didn't do very well, but I kept them up because I really liked them. And then I was scrolling through one day, and there's this trend, and it's like AO whatever check, rich parents check, Texas check, and there was one that said New York check, and this girl had a great view, but it was nothing compared to mine. And I was like, my view's a lot better. Yeah. So I took the sound and I recorded it, and I posted it, I think like, it was like maybe 2 days before I messaged you. I posted it that morning, and by like 6 p.m. that night, it had like 45,000 views. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is the creme de la creme, like it's going so big. And I remember coming back from an engagement party, dropped my friend off on the Upper East Side, and had like 80,000 views. And I was like, okay, cool. And by the time we had gotten home to my apartment in Hell's Kitchen, it had 110, and I was like, whoa. And so I started paying attention, refreshing it. Every second would get 2,000 to 3,000 views.
Crazy.
And by like 1 a.m. that night, hit 1 million.
Wow.
Next day, I think it plateaued around like 8.9 million. And I hit like 1 million likes at like 4 p.m. I had been tracking it because it's just so fascinating.
It's crazy.
Because another Drink with James, you had talked about what really is considered a view on TikTok, and I was thinking like, how many people are actually viewing this? But when I hit 1 million likes, that's when I was like, okay, people are like really engaging with it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And what do you think about like why did that work? Was it because instead of just like doing something helpful, you were doing one of those like challenges or one of those trends on TikTok that like everyone kind of does their own version of?
I think it was successful because of what is successful on social media is people just bragging about their lives.
Yeah.
And like I have a pretty good view, and I think a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't live in New York or see these kind of apartments. When people talk about New York, you think rats and trash and whatnot. And so it was just, I think it was cool for people to see that and see, you know, the Empire State Building and the water, and it's just a really great view. And every time I post on stories, once again, it does really well. I get a lot of DMs about it. So I think people are just fascinated by things they don't have or have never seen before.
And so was this your first time in social in general, like going traditionally viral?
Yeah.
Because you can't really go viral on Instagram. It's very difficult.
Not
it's
anymore.
not a sharing platform like you can on Twitter or you used to be able to on Tumblr.
Right.
What has happened? Obviously, you've gained followers on your TikTok.
Yeah.
But has anything happened to your Instagram or other platforms that you feel like has been helpful?
Yeah. So I went, before the video, I had maybe 200 followers, and now I have 89,000, something like that, which is actually more than my Instagram, which is so frustrating.
That's frustrating, right?
Yeah. But what's cool is I was getting, during that, you know, couple, like past week, I've been getting more and more followers from it. And so I think I've gained like 1,000 Instagram followers, which for me, because, you know, every week we're losing more and more followers, it was cool because people were messaging me, people were reaching out. They're like, I just found you on TikTok. I love your content.
Yeah.
And that's been the whole point of my TikTok, and that's the whole point of my Instagram and any social, is to always drive people back to my blog.
Yep.
And so getting people from TikTok to Instagram, getting them engaged, and then having them read the blog is like always my end goal. So it was pretty cool to see that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like so many people watching this, they know in the back of their minds, they know they should be paying more attention to TikTok.
Yeah.
It comes up in every single sales meeting that we have. People, while they're not yet maybe spending aggressively on TikTok, they're thinking about it and they're asking us, what do you think about TikTok? Should we do something on TikTok? But I think people are saying, look, I'm too old for it. I'm not right. I'm not funny. I can't dance. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can dance, and I haven't seen your stand-up act, so I don't know if you're funny. But you've been successful. What do you say to people who have known they maybe should start publishing videos, but they feel afraid to?
Definitely just get on the app, and you don't even have to start publishing. You just really need to start paying attention to what people are publishing, what works, what doesn't, and then try and see how you can adapt that to you. I mean, people always said I was too old for Twitter, I was too old for Instagram. At one point or other, I wasn't, but like somebody was at one point. And I always like kick myself going back in the day of not being more aggressive on Pinterest, not being more aggressive on Twitter, on Instagram. And so I'm thinking, I'm not gonna let this one pass me by.
Yeah.
So I think I'm better on video than I am in just photos, because
Yeah.
it shows a little bit more of my personality. So I say just do it. And I've posted a ton I just deleted that I didn't think did very well, because nobody's really looking at your profile. They're just looking at that individual video. And if you just kind of, I know that was like back in the day, people would post on Instagram and then delete it, but it's just a good way to get to know the app,
you're
and
learning.
Understand.
The stakes are so low. I think
So
that's the
low.
thing. It's like,
Yeah.
who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like, nobody is watching. If nobody sees it, then no one's watching. And I think that like what's cool about TikTok is like, you don't have to say to your Instagram audience, hey guys, go follow me on TikTok.
No.
It's like, the point is, to your point, can I get a new audience?
Yeah.
And then eventually drive them back to, you know, your kind of flagship, which is your blog.
Yeah, you think about Vine influencers back in the day, all those people had tens of millions of followers on Vine, got them all over to YouTube, all over to Instagram, and now they're widely successful.
Yeah. And this is the time in any platform when you can get that explosive growth.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows what is going on with their Explorer and their algorithm and China?
It's crazy.
And so I think it will be much harder to grow. Every day it will get harder to have what happened to you happen on TikTok. And so I think, you know, the time is now to just try, right? And what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of actually celebrities in the past month and bigger influencers start coming on, and that's when you know, like Will Smith's on there, so you gotta
happening.
you gotta get in.
Is there anything else people should know about, like, know about TikTok, like things that you feel like you didn't understand in the beginning that you get now?
Their video editing software in the app is awesome. It's super simple. At first, it's really intimidating. What I would do is I would just film a video of me not doing anything, start editing it in the video, and it's fascinating, because I used to upload it from my camera roll. Now I'm doing it in app, and it's really cool. It's really brilliant, and I'm just waiting for Instagram to knock it off.
Okay, well look, You guys can, they're definitely going
I
in
know.
very, very soon. You guys can find her on Instagram or TikTok or her blog. DM her, send her your TikTok. She's going to critique you. She's going to be pissed at me because she'll be like, I'm not critiquing people's shitty
I'll do
TikToks.
it.
But she'll do it. And look, I think this is such a great story for, even us who've been like, shit, we should start one at 4. It's just
Yeah.
like, just do it. Like, you don't have to, like, everyone's learning this platform right now. And it is totally okay to make a fool of yourself. If the video sucks, just delete it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, you've been doing this for like 4 months. You have more followers than you do on your Instagram.
It's
so
insane.
that's good and, to your point, very frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think if you guys can learn anything from Krista, it's just do it. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much.
I feel like that was a long episode. As always, thank you for paying attention, if you've made it this far. And while I say that I don't want to be internet famous, and that is generally true, that is no longer my goal, it does help if you guys share these videos. Every time you guys, I love seeing you guys share this stuff on Instagram. If this has been helpful for you, then, why not, help me out and post some shit to your stories. Tell your friends about it. Write a tweet, Facebook. I don't care. Do something for me this week. And I will continue making these videos for you. That feels fair. Thank you. See you again next week.